Hey everyone! So today I've brought back the finest atlas of the heavens, the Andreas Cellarius Harmonia Macrocosmica from the 17th century. We've had a look at this before, but I figured now during December it's a good time to have a look at some specific plates in this atlas that I've also mentioned before, but then I kind of didn't get around to doing it. So let's see. Right, here we are. We want to have a look at plate 23, which is the second hemisphere with the Christianized firmament. Basically, what we have in the sky are specific constellations that date back quite a long time. And in the 17th century, someone had the idea that they could update these constellations with different figures. Specifically, this someone was the Augsburg scholar Julius Schiller, who put together a Coelum Stellatum Christianum. I hope that you somewhat pronounce it like that. Never had Latin. It's from 1627. We have a number of plates that use this specific form. Basically what Schiller did was that the constellations south of the zodiac were named after Old Testament figures, and the constellations north of the zodiac after New Testament and early Christian figures. The 12 zodiacal constellations were named after disciples of Christ. Additionally, he also renamed more than the constellations, namely the Milky Way, the Sun, the Moon, and the planets. So the Milky Way became the path of the blessed, the Sun became Christ, the Moon the Virgin Mary, Mercury Elijah, Venus John the Baptist, Mars Joshua, Jupiter Moses, and Saturn Adam. It's a bit much, and you can imagine that it didn't quite catch on. Most astronomers preferred to use the established constellations as it allowed them to more easily do their research and compare it to previous ones. But nonetheless, I think it's quite an interesting plate. And it's quite fitting for the time before Christmas because we have some familiar figures here, like here in the corner. We have the three kings. One with a big turban and a crown on top. Number two, again identified by turban and crown. And three. And you can see here the gifts that they bring to the Christ child. And the third one. So in German they usually call the three kings. In English I think it's more customary to call them the three magi. And we have them here in this list as well. Right here, the three kings, which in normal astronomical depictions would be the constellation of Hercules. So Hercules generally a constellation that's a little difficult to find. It's not very bright, but it's quite large, so it's easy to fit three different figures in there. we have here, instead of Gemini, Jacobus Major. Instead of Cancer, we have Johannes. Instead of Leo, St. Thomas. Instead of Virgo, Jacobus Minor. Libra would be Philippus. Scorpio, St. Bartholomew, etc. It continues here with St. Matthew's for Sagittarius. Capricorn would be Simon. Aquarius, Judas Thaddeus. Pisces have been turned into St. Matthias. Aries would be Petrus with his keys. And Taurus would be St. Andreas, recognizable by the Andreas cross, which is still used quite often. My favorite constellation normally, or in the sky, is this one here. I don't have an opinion on St. Josephus, but I do really like Orion. You have the belt of Orion here, 1, 2, 3, with the sword of Orion, and then the 4 shoulder stars. The 4th one should be probably this one. This is a constellation that's really easy to see, and even if you live in a city where you might have a lot of light, this one's very bright. Plus, we are currently in the northern hemisphere looking away from the Milky Way, meaning these individual bright stars really become noticeable and it's easy to find them. So if you do want to do a little bit of stargazing, Orion is a great way to start, especially now in winter when the evenings are quite long. You can also skip ahead for a moment and have a look here in the back, where we have some explanations on the history and the mythology. Orion would be right here. It says that according to most classical accounts, this magnificent constellation represents Orion, the son of Eurali, I think, daughter of the Cretan king Minos and of Poseidon, for whom he acquired the ability to walk on water. He was a great hunter and once vowed that he would kill every animal that lived on earth. This angered Gaia, the earth, who sent a large scorpion to kill Orion by stinging him in the foot. They were eventually set onto the firmament, Orion on one side and Scorpio on the other side, kind of chasing each other. Generally though, even though you have a number of different accounts that relate to Orion, there's very little in terms of history and mythology from the Greeks. This is a constellation that's much older and probably at one point depicted Gilgamesh fighting Taurus, the bull of the heavens. In this case, they would be Saint Josephus and Saint Andreas. Other noticeable things here would be this corner, Lyra, which becomes, let's see where we have that, Aquarius, Sagittarius, right here, number 8, which would be the Holy Manger. So in this case, not next to the 3 kings, but of course related, we have an angel here in the back with this golden curly hair, blue gown, and these wings. This corner here would be mostly visible in summer. What would be Saint Helena here? It's also sometimes called the Swan in German, or the Cross of the North, which is how it's depicted here. Very easy to see, and also very beautiful constellation. Usually you have parts of the Milky Way here forming the wings of the swan. In this case they've been omitted. There's another close-up here of Saint Aaron, Saint Raphael. But of course, normally you would find depictions like this one. So with the mythological figures like Ursa Major, Draco here around the North Pole, there's Cepheus, Andromeda, Pegasus. And we have Taurus here, the bull of the heavens. Interestingly, you can always only see the front part of the bull. It doesn't have a back part because there's already Aries. And Orion is just peeking out with his shield and his helmet. But I'm sure we can find another depiction. Here would be the aforementioned Scorpio. So on the other side of the sky, and then here we are in luck. We have again Taurus right here, and Orion. It's a little hard to make out here. So this is a bit of an odd plate because it's the northern stellar hemisphere, however with the terrestrial hemisphere lying beneath. So it says it completes the description of the northern constellations. Once again, the Earth is seen from the point of view of an observer outside the celestial sphere and appears to lie in the center of a translucent sphere bearing the constellations. Visible on the terrestrial globe are Europe, Africa, Asia, the northern part of North America, Greenland, the northern polar sea, the North Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Chinese Sea. There are some mapping errors around the peninsula of Kamchatka and the supposed connection between Asia and North America, which we've already seen in previous maps. So here we can see America. We have Japan here, lying under the paw of Ursa Major. And the connection here. quite a beautiful map again. Is there all these places? And like I said, if you feel like trying some stargazing, Orion and Taurus are a great way to practice finding the constellations. And then once you have a feeling for their exact size and location, it's easy to hop from one to the next. And before you know it, you'll find all of them in the sky. Alright. So for today again, thank you for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow.